Hey there, welcome to the Mile High Church podcast. Anchor your life with our transformative teachings at our introductory 8-week class, Beyond Limits Online, with Josh Reeves, starting Tuesday, January 19th. Learn spiritual tools to improve your faith, relationships, finances, health, and well-being. Visit milehighchurch.org for details.
Thank you again for being with us today. It's a new year here at Mile High Church, hopefully one that will see you back in person very soon. But I just want to begin, and I know I speak for Michelle when I say this too, that the great honor of our lives, for me personally, along with being a dad to Nancy, June, and Gavin, is getting to represent you here on this stage with these messages. And as ministers, we don't see our job as imparting wisdom to the congregation. We see our job as representing the collective wisdom in this amazing Mile High congregation and reminding you of it. And so grateful to begin this series that we start every January called Back to Basics, where we reintroduce the core teachings in creative ways of what we call the science of mind and spirit. And our theme this year is evolved spirituality. And so I'm here today. Dr. Michelle will be here next week, and we'll go back and forth over these 4 weeks to share what it means to embrace and embody and evolve spirituality in our own lives, and how an evolved spirituality is being called for in our families, in our communities, in our country, and beyond. And all my quotes from our founder, Ernest Holmes, today come from, I think, an underappreciated book called A New Design for Living that he wrote with Willis Kinnear. And Holmes shares, "To realize that an infinite artist, the divine creator, the cosmic reality is back of and in and through all of our acts, is to realize the truth which enables us to enter with joy and enthusiasm into the day in which we live. Each day is a new creation, a new moment for a fuller awareness of spiritual reality, a time for designing the new life that we want to live." And for me, to be a practitioner of spirituality, to be a spiritual practitioner, there are 3 things that we're called to do. The first is to work towards an ever-expanding understanding of God, of the sacred. Learning to see our understanding of the divine not as fixed, but as always fluid, ever evolving, ever expanding, ever deepening in our hearts. The second thing is to continue a deepening introspection into our own inner life and being through self-inquiry, through authenticity, through sifting through our past beliefs, through our commitment to personal growth. And the third thing is to identify those virtues and values that are most sacred and precious to us. Sometimes in our teaching we call them the qualities of God, and commit to practicing them every day, no matter what. If you can do these 3 things daily in your life, my promise to you from my own experience is that you will build a foundation for your life filled with joy, fulfillment, and meaning. An important thing to remember about our teaching is that it's a teaching about causes and not effects. It's not about the effects, it's about the cause. A lot of people, they enter into this philosophy looking for stuff. I want a new car. I want a new relationship. I want a redesigned bathroom. I want to make 6 figures. They come in with plans for designing and making particular things happen in their lives. And although this is all well and good, for me, that's not the heart of what this teaching is all about. A motivational speaker might be enough for you. But what I have learned, and I think so many of us have learned, is that what sets that law of attraction into motion to manifest things in our lives it isn't just the clarity of what we want. It's the quality of our consciousness, the quality of our character, the result and byproduct of what we know about who we are, what we've learned, and what we still have to learn. I can't tell you how many times I've had someone come to me and say, Josh, I prayed for Mr. Right, and I kind of wound up with Mr. Okay for right now. He had an incredible potential, and if only I could have dated his potential. And he had 3 of the 5 things that I really wanted, but those 2 things were just so missing that I feel like I've wasted a year or however long we've been dating in my life. I've met so many people that said, Josh, I wanted to manifest prosperity, and I started off with just 15 extra pounds, thank you God, but eventually I was able to get that job that I wanted, and I was able to get the pay that I wanted. However, it was so busy and so demanding of me that I started neglecting the things that I cared most about, and now I'm burnt out. Or perhaps most commonly, I put everything I wanted on my vision board, and I got each and everything on it, and you know what? I'm still not happy. I'm still not fulfilled. I wish that I had spent more time focusing on what the sacred and the Spirit wanted for my life, as opposed to just what I thought that I wanted. The reason our teaching is about causes, and this is something I believe wholeheartedly, is that when I can focus on that ever-increasing connection with Spirit, when I can continue to commit, no matter how painful or tough it is, to self-inquiry and understanding myself, and when I can commit myself to my religion, practicing those divine virtues of kindness, of love, and compassion, the byproduct of that is blessings to what I wanted and even beyond that. I believe when you can practice these 3 things, the blessings of your life multiply in incredible ways. Holmes shares with us, we should develop the practice of communing daily with the Spirit that resides within us. And such communion should be based on a deep inward sense of belonging to life, of being a part of it, of trusting it and having confidence in it, and of knowing that as we do so, the future is certain in such degree as we make the present a time of joy, of happiness, of peace, and of goodwill toward others. Since the beginning of humanity, we've been trying to figure out our relationship with the infinite, of how to contact it, of how to listen to it, of how to work for it and get it to work for us. Sacrifices and offerings upon altars, dances and rituals to seek to bring rain or a new harvest, prayers and meditations, churches, temples, mosques, synagogues, all of these in an attempt to get God's attention. And they're all beautiful in their own right, but for me, an evolved spirituality means that I do practices not to get God to be aware of me and my concerns, but to build the awareness that God is already here, that the sacred is already present, and that it's not God who's not listening, but me and my own inner voice, needing to learn to listen to Spirit's divine call. If there's anything you hear today, I want you to hear this. There is no place where God is not present. There is no situation in which God does not speak. There is no person that God does not love. Sometimes we say things in our faith and they sound like just fancy pants things to say, but I mean this, and I invite you to ask yourself, do I believe this? There is no place where God is not present. No situation in which God does not speak. No person that God does not love. Can you feel that? And if you struggle with that, can you take a moment to imagine, what if this was true for me? That there is no place where God is not present in my life. That there is no situation in my life that God is not speaking to me. That there is no person who God is not loving or seeking to actively love through me. These understandings are the evolved spirituality that I think is being called for for ourselves, for our loved ones, for those all around us. We have to evolve from seeing God as distant to see and understand that God is so much further even than our concept of what near is. I love how the Catholic teacher Henry Nouwen put it. He said, "I wonder whether I've sufficiently realized that during all this time, God has been trying to find me, to know me, and to love me. The question is not, how am I to find God, but how am I to let myself be found by him? And finally, the question is not, how am I to love God, but how am I to let myself be loved by God? God is looking into the distance for me, trying to find me, and coming to bring me home." It's time to move from that concept of God being some distant eye watching us all the time, checking us out in the shower, to begin to see the divine as something that seeks to align with our vision, something calling us to see through her eyes. It's time to move along from this idea that there is some distant God that may hear our prayers, to embracing the understanding that God knows our prayers before they've even been spoken, that the answers exist as a divine guidance in our heart and as our soul. It's time to move past the old understanding that God somehow designed this world and humankind to test us as part of a battle between good and evil, and to begin to see that, as Emerson, our philosophical forefather, once said, that we exist as the very hands of the divine to repossess this earth in the name of God, to make the divine visible and active in this incredible sacrament that is life. When we embrace this evolved spirituality, we begin to experience that evolution in our own heart, our own soul, in our own life. As we were talking at the beginning of service, one of the things that I love about this philosophy is that it's for today. And so in choosing examples, Michelle and I, all of our ministers, we have this amazing plethora of options to choose from. And there are so many places where we can speak to where this idea of God being present in all places and speaking through all events and loving all people can show up. And I just chose today to talk about a 12-year-old boy in Louisville, Kentucky in 1954 who had his bike stolen. He and his brother had been gifted the bike as a Christmas present, and they incredibly loved it. And so when it was stolen, when they went downtown one day, this young boy was really upset. And he started asking, "Where's a police officer? Where's a police officer so I can find out who stole my bike?" And people didn't know, but they knew that in a building down in a basement there was a police officer. And this young man went down there and he met a fellow named Joe Martin who was off duty, but he was teaching young men how to box. And this young man almost forgot about his bike immediately and became entranced by these young white men, these young black men boxing, learning, and he almost forgot all about his bicycle. And isn't it interesting how God can show up in our life like that, that thing that we thought was so important, that we get so upset when it's been taken from us, can guide us into something new, something profound that gives us those God bumps, that helps us to learn that God is the divine possibility, always available to us in our life. And so this young man committed to be a boxer, and in school every day he had this kind of combination of positive thinking and spirituality mixed with his anti-hero Gorgeous George from professional wrestling, and he would affirm things like, "I am the greatest. I am the champion. I cannot be beat." And as I'm sure you know by now, this young man would grow up to be Muhammad Ali, perhaps the greatest, one of the greatest athletes of all time. But think about that 12-year-old boy in that classroom making those affirmations. Pompous? Absolutely, but connected with divine possibility in an incredible way. We may be too humble, but perhaps we can say those same affirmations about ourselves in awareness of the divine in us. God, you are the champion within me. Spirit within me cannot be beat. God within me is the champion. And all we need from there is a little footwork. And we can begin to demonstrate this power in our lives in incredible ways that continues to call us. The truth was that Muhammad Ali's true passion wasn't boxing, and he struggled later in his life trying to hold on to it. Life is always calling us to greater possibilities. And actually, there's a museum in Louisville dedicated to Muhammad Ali, and there are some words from our founder, Ernest Holmes, on a wall of inspirational quotes that meant a lot to him. Spirituality is one's recognition of the universe as the living presence of good. Truth, beauty, peace, power, and love. Do not wonder whether or not you are spiritual. Rather, accept the fact that you must be. And again, from A New Design for Living, the only way to become the kind of person we want to be is to live the kind of life we want to live. Is first to be that person in our thought, live that life with unwavering conviction. The law of attraction will take care of the rest. There is no place where God is not present. There is no situation in which God does not speak. There is no person who God does not love. How does God speak to us? I think for so many of us, it's in the form of divine reminders. It's in those situations where I'm called out of my self-imposed reality tunnel of seeing the world to recognize there's something more, that I am in relationship with something infinite that is certainly much more creative than my know-it-allness. I could be busy with work, thinking that work is all there is, on the drive home and see a beautiful sunset and those snow-capped mountains. I could be putting my music on shuffle and hearing a song that reminds me of growing up with my dad and being in the car and how much I love my dad. Sometimes I can wake up in the morning with a divine reminder of how much I love my friend Steve, and I should call my friend Steve. Or an insight about working with the incredible Michelle Medrano and how a couple reminded me of how to do shared leadership and remembering that. It's amazing how these divine reminders come forth, that when we really listen, God is always speaking. I love how the Christian author Frederick Buechner put it. He said, "There's no chance thing through which God cannot speak. Even the walk from the house to the garage that you have walked 10,000 times before. Even the moments when you cannot believe there is a God who speaks at all anywhere. He speaks, I believe, and the words he speaks are incarnate in the flesh and blood of ourselves and of our own footsore and sacred journeys." Yes, checking the mail can be a spiritual experience. Taking out the garbage can be a spiritual experience if we're listening from that place of heart. And the key with these divine reminders is to follow through on them. Don't just acknowledge them. I see the sunset and the snow-capped mountains. I'm going to pull over and enjoy a moment of awe. I hear that song that makes me think of my dad. I'm going to call him up on the phone. Or if he can't be contacted, I'm going to journal about my memories and my experience. See, when we follow these divine ideas, these divine reminders, they lead us to answered prayers. I'm going to call my friend Steve, who I love, and who knows what he's going to share with me. Maybe he knows something about something I've been praying for, an opportunity. Maybe there's some wisdoms from the mouth of God that are going to come through him. Follow up on those divine reminders and begin to experience and hear those messages that we can embody if we would stop searching for them and listen to what is right here and right now and allow that to take us where Spirit would lead. It's true that it's the teaching of the Science of Mind that led me here. But the thing that really teaches me isn't the books, but it's the people. It's the incredible people of Mile High Church. And I'm regularly reminded, even in this time when we can't be together, which speaks to, as wonderful it is to be online, this community is its people. and we're missing something when we're not able to interact with one another. But just one story I experienced this year, and I won't share her name, and that's kind of a good thing because it could be any of us. But it had to do with a lovely woman who found out in 2017 that she had cancer. And listening to her divine guidance, she made the decision that she wasn't going to make a public announcement about it. She was just going to tell 9 people who were really close to her. To 1, don't ask me about it unless I bring it up. And to 2, to hold her in the light, to lift her up. And she thrived through the dozens of radiation and chemo treatments. And she was cancer-free, but she intuitively, months later, knew that the cancer was back. And she saw the doctor again and got on another thing of chemo and radiation. And it was affecting the nerves in her feet to the degree that when she walked, it felt like she was walking on fire. And she listened to her heart. And she made that challenging decision to not continue her treatment. I just want to point out right here that I'm not encouraging anyone to do that. I'm simply encouraging us to see the power of listening to that inner voice. And so she ceased her treatments, and she kept on living. She kept on taking care of herself. So the doctor told her that you won't live more than a year. And she shared with me, March 2020 was the month I was to die. It is now January 2021, and I'm still here with no symptoms. There's been no chemo since March of 2019. Each day my affirmation is, I'm so grateful for my health, wealth, and happiness. I live each day to the fullest, and while I am smart about COVID, I don't stay home in fear. I have but one life to live, and I'm living it. Life will tell us all about the things that we're supposed to do, and there's a lot of wisdom in that. But to remember that we're on a unique journey, to remember that there is no place where God is not present, no situation in which God does not speak, and no person that God does not love. What does that mean to you? What is God's love? We have a saying in our teaching, there's a power for good in the universe, and you can use it. What is that power? One half of it is the law of mind. It's the recognition that through clarity of consciousness, clarity of desire, clarity of purpose, we can manifest our divine destinies. There's a power for good in the universe, and you can use it. The other half of it is the law of love. There's a power for love in this universe, and you can use it. What is God's love? Take a moment with me to think about every person who's ever loved you. Sometimes in spite of yourself, in spite of your judgments and misgivings, in spite of your flaws and your mistakes. Think about those who loved you without condition, who saw the truth of you perhaps even when you couldn't see it about yourself. That's God's love. That's the law of love in action. Now take a moment to think about those individuals in your life who you loved, in spite of their foibles and failings, in spite of their judgments or mistakes. Those that you chose to love without condition, to remember the truth of them when they clearly forgot it about themselves. That's God's love. That's the love of Spirit. And when we embody that love and when we practice that love, we are embodying the secret of the ages and the deepest and most profound lesson of life. To love God with all our heart and to love our neighbors, one another, as ourselves. The gift of this is getting to live a whole life. And when we miss it, we only live partially. It's the reminder that no matter how many times you've been victimized, you do not have to live as a victim. It's the reminder that no matter how wronged you've been in your life, you can still choose right. It's the reminder of how, no matter how unloved, mistreated, betrayed you may have experienced from others in your life, you can choose to be set free by this divine law of love. To close with these words from our founder, no one can tell you what your new design for living should be, nor should anyone attempt to. This is for you to plan. You are your own architect, but some of the plans you have drawn in the past may have resulted in some structures of experience which have not been altogether good. You are not going to be supplied with a new set of blueprints. Rather, you are going to find out how to be a better architect. And there's one simple answer to be that better architect, and that's to realize that with you, there is a silent partner. With you, there is a divine power. May we stop shutting it out of our lives or our hearts. May we stop shutting it out by judging ourselves, criticizing ourselves, being cruel to ourselves. May we stop shutting it out by judging others, even hating others. May we realize that our divine evolution isn't even just a step away. It's this very moment. So moving into a prayer. I make that sacred commitment, and I invite those who choose to be a part of this prayer to join me in saying, in your hands, divine love, I commit my spirit. In your embrace, divine love, I give my relationships. In your vision, divine love, I place my calling and my purpose. And into your heart, divine love, I place my own heart, knowing that we co-create together each moment, not with plans or maps or schemes, but with a inspirational trust and devotion to ever-expanding awareness of the divine, to ever-deepening self-inquiry, no matter how icky or painful or tear-ridden or challenging it may be at times. I commit to know myself. And may I commit right here, right now, to do my best to love others as God loves them. Not just as God loves them, but as a higher vision and a higher purpose that sees beyond the mediocre, the petty, to know that those qualities and virtues I choose to practice are not just nice nouns, nice feelings. They're the building blocks of divinity to grow and build a life of love, of joy, of healing, of happiness, of forgiveness, of meaning, of fulfillment, and of divine grace. Embracing these truths, let us know that divine magic that reminds us that we can not only accept them for ourselves, but know them interacting in the lives of those we love. We give our lives to this divine spirit, allowing any pressure to be released from our shoulders, from the limited idea that it's up to us alone to know and remember we are never alone, but we are one. And so it is. Amen.
Thank you for listening to the Mile High Church podcast. This podcast is made possible by the generous contributions from listeners like you. If you'd like to make a donation, please visit us at milehighchurch.org. Have a fabulous day.